holding a pair of scissors instead of a microphone for two reasons. A, because I thought this would be hilarious and I'm kind of running out of jokes, and also B, to illustrate the fact that I am recording this from home. So lots has changed since the last time we made an LCC TV episode, but we're still going and we're still really happy to be doing so. We will now be proceeding with an interview with Matthew Anzaruth. So for those of you who do not know, the WSDC, which is the World Schools Debating Championship, took place a few months ago, and Matthew Anzaruth actually came out as being one of the top debaters in the world. So we had the honor of having him at LCCTV for an interview a few weeks ago, and we will be happy to share this with you right now. So here goes. Okay, so hello, my name is Edward. I'm here today with Matthew Anzaruth.
Matthew Anzaruth.
Yeah, nice to meet you. And he is
you.
a competitor at the World School Debating Championships. If I'm correct, yep.
That's correct. Yep.
And so we were very excited to have him today. He ended up being one of the top debaters in the world at the end of this competition. So that's a pretty prestigious title, I think. And we have a few questions to ask him. So the first question I would have for you is, what exactly is the WSDC? How exactly does it work? Just because not all of our viewers might be really familiar with it.
Right. So the World Schools Debating Championship is basically the biggest high school tournament that there is. This year it gathered 68 countries, so 68 national teams. Each of them typically has 5 members on their team that are selected in various ways that are up to the debate associations of each country. The way it works is this year there were 6 preliminary rounds. So you debate against teams in your division, and then there are 4 to 5 break rounds, or which you might think of as playoff rounds, where you go, partial, double octos, octofinal, quarter, semi, and then finals, where we ended up debating against Sri Lanka.
That's what I saw. Okay, so that's great. So that's nice. And what does it mean to be a debater as well? Because not everyone watching this as well might be super familiar with the art of debating. So what do you do as a debater? How does it work?
Right. So a debate is basically a structured argument between 2 teams. 3 speakers speak on either side, although there's a team of 5 that you end up preparing for each round for, and you rotate who speaks each round. It's a good time. You make lots of friends. You learn a lot from coaches and teammates who end up being some of the most smart and impressive people that you know. So there's the enjoyment of the activity itself, which I think, we'll probably get to at some point in the interview. And then, there's all the other things that you take along with it. So the friends that you make and the things that you learn as well.
Yeah, so I imagine, do you still speak to the people with whom you...
Yeah. We're all close friends, yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Okay, so moving on to the next question. So we're actually, right now, we're in a bit of a pandemic, which is why we're actually doing this. I think we've all kind of noticed that. And I think there's a bit of stress, and everyone's kind of nervous, but I think that these kinds of competitions must be kind of nerve-wracking. So I want to ask you, what is your way to manage stress, not only in COVID, but also in the competition itself, and what advice can you give to all of us?
Maybe not very good advice, but no, it was a stressful tournament. Debating in front of a lot of people, even though it's online actually, which is a little strange. In terms of how I dealt with it, I made sure I got a lot of sleep. That was probably the one bonus of a tournament being online. You're sleeping at home. You're generally not going to bed as late as you would at a tournament in person. So getting decent sleep, I go for walks every now and then, and just trying to relax. But I mean, it was throughout the tournament quite a nerve-wracking experience. But I mean, the high at the end of it was quite nice.
So also, I guess one of my main questions was, how does it feel to be one of the best debaters in the world? How has that changed things for you? Has that changed your perception of anything, of any way?
No, not particularly. I mean, I think it feels good. Another thing is, as you get good at debating and you kind of develop, you become more and more aware of what you're good at, but also more and more acutely aware of what you're bad at. So debate is kind of simultaneously this personally satisfying experience of succeeding, but then also very humbling, because you have these teammates and these opponents and these coaches who, have their respective strengths and weaknesses, and who you learn a ton from, because they are much better than you in some respects, and you have your strengths and weaknesses. But in that sense, I think debate is very much about learning from the other people that you are on a team with, and even those that you debate against as well.
Also, what skills do you feel are transferable? So like how do you feel as though your experience in debating can be transferred to other skills and other jobs.
Right. I mean, I think there are some quite obvious things. You know, debate obviously expands your knowledge because you read a lot more. Public speaking skills and confidence. You know, these are things that are quite intuitive. But I think the more important thing about debating is just, and this is a little bit hard to express, but I think it's just the way that it teaches you to think a little bit differently. So at a greater depth. You know, because debate is a very logic heavy activity. It's about making logically coherent arguments, poking holes in other sides' arguments, and doing all this with kind of like this strategic vision of the round. It's kind of like a chess game, but just with the variation of discussing interesting topics. And so because of that, I do think it kind of just trains the mind in a way that is useful in most other things that you can go about doing. You know, it might seem less intuitive and direct than something like public speaking, but to me, that's the more important thing that I've drawn from debating.
Yeah. Well, that's. I must say that when I think of debating, I always think of lawyers and that sort of thing in the court. Is that sort of? Are you interested in that? Is that where you?
Yeah, yeah. I think I will go to law school. Yeah.
That's good to know. Okay, so you were debating for Canada,
Correct.
not for LCC, not for Quebec, but for Canada.
Yeah, for Canada this time.
Well, that's thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was a great discussion. I think we learned a lot from this, and yeah. So this is Edward from LCCTV signing off with Matthew Anzaru. Thank you so much for having listened to this episode of LCCTV. I hope you found it both enlightening and entertaining. I also hope that you found it funny that I was holding scissors for half the time. I found it hilarious, and I am running out of jokes once again. But once again, if you have anything you would like to suggest, or there's anything that you would like as a student that you think should be shared, please let me know, and we'll be happy to have you on the show. Once again, thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.